My mom was born in colonial Indonesia, the daughter of one of the most powerful men on the island, the comptroller of the city of Jakarta, the capital. It's like being the chief accountant for New York City or something. And so she grew up with wealth and privilege, a chauffeur and nanny and maids and gardeners and cooks. And all that disappeared the day that the Japanese invaded Indonesia, beginning of World War II, and her father got sent off to prisoner war camp, as did every other male over the age of 18. And she was suddenly, this 20-year-old woman was suddenly in charge of her two younger brothers and her mom, who totally cratered under the pressure of no longer being a socialite and suddenly being left with nothing except resourcefulness. And it was a horrible time. I can't imagine what it was like to live in a time where people were getting killed all around her on a daily basis. And shortly thereafter, she also became the mother, de facto mother for 7 young nieces and nephews who all got dumped as their parents were shipped off to prisoner war camp or were murdered. And suddenly, and through all of that, it was her faith that kept her going. She had a strong, powerful faith growing up. That's what she was inculcated, just the religion. But faced with deprivation and horror that I can't imagine, she found a deeper place. And she formed a lifelong habit of getting up an hour before everybody else every day to read her Bible, to pray, and to stretch her body, to get ready for whatever came next. It was a good thing, too, because at the end of the war and the Indonesian Revolution, she and my father and older brother had to flee Indonesia with virtually nothing except a couple of trunks of clothes and move to Holland, where she had 3 more kids, including me. And then it didn't work out for them in Holland. They had to leave again for the United States with 5 kids in tow, and 1 in her belly, and 4 kids in tow, 1 in her belly, and the 6th arrived shortly thereafter, and no money. And through all of that, through the polio that struck her, through the cancer, through raising 6 boys and a 7th, her husband, she really, whom I love dearly. My dad is a living, loving presence in my life, but my mom definitely had her hands full. But no matter how early one of her sons or her husband had to get up to go to work or go to a track meet, she'd get up an hour earlier than that to make sure that she had time to pray and read and reflect and move her body in a way to prepare for the day. I'm reminded of the story of the young man who was studying in an ashram and doing his best, but not getting it. And he came one day to the abbot of the ashram, the chief teacher of the ashram, and said, "Sir, I've been studying, I've been praying, I've been doing what I can, but I still feel this immense sadness and suffering. What can I do?" To which the teacher simply got up and wordlessly drew a line in the sand with a stick. And he said, handed the stick to the young man and said, "Make this line shorter without touching it." The young man stared at it and couldn't figure out what to do. And the teacher took the stick back and drew a longer line. And what my mother showed me and what the teacher was showing his young charge is the importance of getting perspective on whatever suffering is going on, whatever challenges you face, a willingness to get up in front of it and simply change your perspective and see a little broader, see a little higher, see a little wider. And today, as we reflect on the divine feminine, it may or may not be a challenge to your theology to do that. I know it certainly would have been a challenge to my mother's deeply Christian theology to consider what is the divine feminine, and yet she knew in her heart the power of trusting in a loving, nurturing God that would sustain her no matter what circumstances, no matter who was staring at her with a machine gun, or what doctor was giving her a diagnosis. She knew that life would take care of her, that God, in her understanding, was nurturing, was life-sustaining, even as death and challenges and horror continue too. It's not one or the other, it's both and. And so opening to the divine feminine, in my understanding, is a way of acknowledging that part of life which is nurturing and sustaining no matter what our human appearances might lead us to believe. We call God by many names. We call the goddess by many names. And from my understanding, it's just a way of opening our limited human brain to the awe and wonder and mystery of it all. But the feminine face of God, which has been taught in many cultures throughout the world for centuries, since time out of mind, asks us to trust over and over again that all is well and all shall be well, that life is nurturing. Life wants to take care of us, and sometimes how life takes care of us is painful and challenging and hurts. And to still have faith, to still open up with gratitude and know that I am being nurtured in this moment, however much it hurts. To have faith, to breathe in to the willingness to draw a bigger line, and to receive, and to receive, and to receive the many blessings. At least that's my understanding, but I'm sticking to it.